work, and I am just grateful to be in partnership with them. So thank you, Angie. So we are doing our Wakasa webinar Sexual Assault Awareness Month series. We've been doing this for a while. We used to do it in person pre-COVID. It used to be a day where folks would come down to Madison and we would just do some healing work. We would do some togetherness on behalf of sexual assault survivors. And it was a good time. And I would like to get back to that. I'm just not sure when. And so at one point, our guest speaker for the day did me a favor. And I was just like looking for people to do some things outside of our normal box. Ran up on her, and I've been in love with her ever since. I'm going to let her introduce herself. But after the first time she came, people have been requesting her in this series and the amazing work that she does. And so this year we had to get her back. And so I will let her introduce herself. She's going to tell y'all all the lovely things that she does. And she's going to drop all of her information at the end so that you all can bring her in as well, because we know that pleasure after sexual trauma is a thing. And she is going to give us some tips and do her thing and tell us how we can better service our survivors and better service ourselves. Go ahead, Erde.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Can you hear me okay? All right. So as mentioned, well, first off, thank you so much. Doing you a favor, you did me a favor. I love talking about pleasure. I feel like for some reason, everyone tries to steal it away from you. It gets shunned upon, it's not okay. And I embrace it. And I live my life helping other people embrace pleasure again and what that is. So today we're going to be on a cool journey together, flowing through tools and practical things that you can use and practice to increase your pleasure sexually and just in life in general. So I caution you now, as mentioned earlier, we will talk about sexuality. I am a sex and relationship coach that focus on pleasure. And so that's kind of my thing. I understand that we're all dealing with a lot of different things in our bodies and where we are now in our experiences with sexuality and pleasure. And so I'm hoping that wherever you are, you can clear it off and start from there. So I do have a pretty succinct, short and sweet presentation, but it's going to be more about our conversation and the tools and the activities that you can practice on your own. So I will start to share my screen now. And please let me know if you can see it or if you're having any difficulty seeing it. And then I'm gonna try to open up so that I can see all your faces and interact with you as much as possible. It's always hard on these things. Wonderful. Okay, so let's do it. You're here, you wanna learn how can we welcome pleasure back in? Not to say that you don't have any. And if you do have some, how can you increase and welcome more of it back in? So to start off, like, sexual assault no longer has permission to steal your pleasure. I'm going to share a little bit about my experience and how I got where I am and how to kind of get rid of that and own yourself again, because you are yours to own, okay? So let's get connected to our bodies today and unlock what pleasure means for us. Are you sick of being confined to what happened to you instead of being defined by who you are? I am, I was, and I now live my life as who I want to be. And it takes a lot of practice. And so I'm just going to share all of the different activities that I use on myself to help stay in myself, stay in my body, and remember who I am and who I want to be. All right, so that's what we're going to do today. A little bit about my company. Erde Brands is here to help you add pleasure to your life. Literally, I started off as, maybe I'll be a life coach. But no, my destiny has always been to be a pleasure coach and to specifically call out sexual pleasure and pleasure with relationships. That could be with family members, friends, it can be with partners, and most importantly, with yourself. Most of my work is work you do with yourself that'll help enhance if you choose to share yourself with someone else. I do have a website, Erde Brands. My name is Erde, all day Erde, and so Erde. You can call it nerdy, whatever you want to call it, it's on there. And how I do this is by public speaking like this. I love workshops. Oh, there's so many things we can talk about when you talk about sexual pleasure. Coaching. So one-on-one, I do group coaching, I do couples coaching. Like I said, my specialty is individual coaching and helping you love and bring pleasure to yourself. And then events. I host all kinds of events, starting with events that bring me pleasure. I am a karaoke nerd. Singing and seeing other people sing. So that brings me lots of pleasure. And then I have learned to burlesque. It is, you're going to find out. And that's one way I stretch myself in loving and owning my body again. So let's define what pleasure is when I'm talking about it, because a lot of people can think about it in different ways, okay? It's two things. As a noun, we're going to look at it as a feeling of happy satisfaction. So first of all, what is happiness? Sometimes it's really hard to remember as we drone on, robot our way, end up getting lost in the world. But then satisfaction is that extra part, right? Are you satisfied? Sometimes you can have bursts of energy and then it goes away, but we're going to dig into that satisfaction. The second part of it is a verb. So enjoyment, and something that gives you sexual enjoyment or satisfaction. I keep adding sexual in there because I want you to get comfortable with understanding that you deserve it. It feels good, and you can have it again when it feels good for you with people you give permission to, including yourself. So here's a little bit about my story. Look at that girl. Oh my God. I have always embraced my body, and it's because my body was stolen from me. So I'm originally from Los Angeles, South Central, so my accent may not give it away, but I have more of a Valley girl, Cali accent, but I am from the hood. And I moved here 20 years ago to go to UW-Madison as a student. And as you can imagine, going from maybe a very diverse place where no one race really stood out to coming here where it is very white. I say, just like Atlanta is very Black. Madison, Wisconsin, Midwest is very white. And that's startling to everybody, whether you're white or not, to have all of one visual culture in the United States. Ooh, it's different, right? So let's get to the stolen part of my body. I think because I look different, I stand out, I have this energy. People say it's attracting people, right? But it attracts good and bad. I would walk around in my happiness, in my pleasure, just minding my own business, and people felt they had permission to just touch me. They would grab me here, they would lift my skirt, they would touch me unwanted, uninvited, so frequently. My hair, it's that I lost myself. I no longer wanted to let people even see my body or see who I was, because I felt like I didn't want to be touched or attacked anymore. And so that's what I mean by my body was stolen. Like, I just felt like too many people thought it was theirs. Beauty. There's beauty and joy. So there's a lot of different ways you might find you like to be defined as, that you feel really sums up who you are. And I just love the word beautiful. There's something, nature's beautiful, pleasure is beautiful. I just feel like there's something about beauty that's from within, that's from without, that I love. And I feel like a lot of that was attached to how I presented myself. there's truth in fake it until you make it. And there's within that, like if you dress up and look nice, it can make you feel nice, even if you don't feel nice inside. So I started really leaning into that, like, oh, and it started working. I want to look good so I can feel good, because being trapped here in, like I said, in the whiteness of it all, it's just a big difference from how I grew up. And I lost it a little bit. So starting to be invisible again and covering up made me feel like I no longer own myself. I start pursuing ways of rescuing my body back. I decided, you know what, I'm sick of this. I'm not happy. I don't feel good. I feel like I can't be me just by hiding all the time. And so I challenged myself to learn how I can be myself again and show more of myself, because that's what I choose to do. And I discovered burlesque. Burlesque, classy, jazzy, fancy way, if you will, of a striptease. Saucy, I know, saucy. But what I love about it is it's a way of sharing who you are, exactly how you are, to the stage, and present yourself in a safe, protected environment. I wanted my body to feel safe and protected again. And so I decided, why not share it with the world? It's crazy. Maybe you're not like me. Just a little hint. I'm a theater major. I am a performing artist. Part of who I am is being able to share my joy with other people, especially from a stage. And so this kind of became a good fit for me. And that's when I found beauty again, and beauty comes in all shapes and sizes. My first invitation was with, they call themselves the Cougars. And the way they mean that is just older women. They don't mean attacking or being predatory to younger people. They just mean embracing that I'm old and sexy. And so performing with these women who've had babies, who are in their 60s, 80s, and all of their bodies just as it was so empowering to me. So then I figured out, that's fine for me, but how can I help other people discover what that pleasure and joy and happiness in their body means for themselves? It may not be performative or burlesque. So once I restored my own pleasure, I decided to start sharing ways of doing that with others. As mentioned, I'm a sex and relationship coach, and I am currently in a certification program because I wanted to learn tools of how to share what I do naturally with other people. And so that's what I'm sharing with you today. Throughout this presentation, please, any questions you have, let me know, chat them or anything like that. Even if it's like, what does that mean? What's a clarification? That's totally fine. Raise your hand. I'm not really watching the chat right now. I'm just kind of sharing some of the tidbits with you. So, but the moderators are helping me with that. So here's your toolbox. These are some of the practical practices that you can do that we're going to go over today that'll help you get pleasure again. And again, remember, the goal is to be able to have sexual pleasure with your consent that feels great, that makes you happy and satisfied. So before care, it takes a lot to prepare yourself for that. Because especially us on the call, a lot has happened to us. And when we try to think of it in a positive way, it might be mixed with some negatives. And so we have a lot of work to do to get there. So I'm going to go over a lot of different activities that you can do with yourself that'll help you rebuild finding yourself again, and then even thinking about pleasure again. Then we're going to talk about, when you're in it, how to maximize it, how to really enjoy that pleasure, how to get the most out of it. Some people have sex and some people have phenomenal sex, okay? I'm here to talk about phenomenal. It feels good, not just in the moment, but after, when you're thinking about it, still feels good sex, okay? Some people never have that. I try to have it all the time. And then we're going to talk about some things to do after, because things might come up after. And then you might have fears of not having that again, or maybe something didn't quite feel good during it, and then you want to be better next time. And then I have a couple of extra practices that are bonuses. If we get to them, we get to them. So I'm going to start with the end and start with an activity that I like to call blank page. Other people talk about this activity as a resilience basket. Basically, what this is an opportunity for you to reflect on everything that breathes you back into yourself. I call it blank page because you don't need anything other than something to write on or with, or even a voice memo. If you take out the back of a piece of paper, if you want to just, I don't know, if you have notebook paper, if you want to do it electronically, you can just pull up a blank sheet. It's very important for it to have nothing on it and to start from scratch every time you do this activity. And we're just going to go through all of the components. You've seen these words before, you've seen these questions before, but have you seen it in the context of how it can help you be more you or experience more pleasure? I don't know. You will right now. So let's talk about who. Oh, who is a big one? Who is a big one? Who is one of the biggest ones? Sometimes we feel obligated to keep people in our life. Sometimes people are just in our life, and we don't even realize or remember how they got there or why they're there. And a lot of times they say weeds will still grow. No matter if you're planting a garden, the weeds, the wildflowers will grow. People who are negative just tend to stick around. And sometimes we feel like we're obligated to keep them in our life. But with this activity, I'm going to challenge you to say, no, you don't. They don't. Just, they have to earn a space in your life. So when we're thinking about who, you want to think about who makes you laugh, who makes you feel safe again, who makes you feel like you can be weird. Okay, those weird jokes that you want to share, but then every time you share it, people judge you. Who can you share them with that'll laugh out loud with you, right? Who do you feel the most like yourself with? So there's a spectrum. There's you and the people you want closest to you, or if you're a list person, the people with the number one spot closest to you are going to be the people who breathe life back into you, who make you feel better, who just let you be without judgment. These are the number ones. The other end of the spectrum are the people who do the exact opposite. They're exhausting. They take away. They make you sad. They make you angry all the time. They question who you are. They question what you like. They love to argue about who you are and tell you who you are. That's a spectrum. You want them to be not on the list. They don't even get a number, okay? But they might be in your life. If it helps you to write down everybody in your life and cross them off, that's great. But this activity is different. You don't even want to put people on the page if they're not on this side of the spectrum, loving you, making you feel more like yourself. I always say, I'm okay with blocking and kicking people out of my life, and I keep my circle tight and small because for me, these are people that love on me and that I love to love on, and I only have a certain amount of capacity. So at a given time, I like to keep my circles small. So for you, write down right now, who are the people in your life? And I hope you're one of those people, and if you're not, we can learn to be. What types of things make you happy? I admitted already early up front that I love karaoke. And man, can we talk about COVID? Can we talk about how solitary confinement is one of the harshest treatment on people, and we were all quarantined for years? Can we talk about how one day feels like a year? Can we talk about the depression that came in like a fog and just still settles there? The uncertainty of what's going on? This is where we are, and people aren't talking about it. They're like, COVID passed. It's over. No, it's still sitting with us. The same way our traumas are still sitting with us. But the what is so important. These things can help you get out of it, snap back into it, and find joy and live again. There's a lot of death going on, but you can live again. So when you're looking at the what in blank pages, I recommend the best time to do this is when you're happy because it gets harder and harder to think of things that make you happy when you're not. So the next time you laugh, the next time you feel a good feeling in your body, write it down. Maybe you keep a notepad in your phone or something like that. Where is good? Do you feel most like yourself when you're all alone because so many people are always around you asking of things of you? Do you like to be lost in a crowd where there's tons of people around you? What kind of crowd? I like going to places that people are happy in and just soaking up that energy. I don't necessarily talk with other people. I'm really awkward that way. I prefer one-on-ones unless I'm on a stage, that's just me. I'm learning more about myself. And that's what these activities are about, learning more about yourself again, right? Where is it? In a bathtub where you can just chill? Is it the closest bathroom stall because that is the only place that you have access to go to where no one else can be around you? Is it in a park surrounded by nature? Where do you feel like you have enough time to be yourself and feel good? And sometimes just come back to neutral and feel nothing. When? Are you a morning person? I'm not. Society keep trying to make me morning. I ain't doing it. It ain't me. I'm a night owl. My energy is more focused and happy later in the evening. And sometimes you just gotta have to watch your natural energy and see when you're most alive. And if you're finding it difficult to even be alive, that's okay. A lot of us are in that space most of the time. Pull out a blank page and brainstorm and just think. Where? How? The next one is how. How does happiness feel? This one's kind of deep, right? I feel like I'm on stage doing spoken word, right? But seriously, how does satisfaction feel? For me, I love food. Mm, mm. When I can eat a good anything and it tastes so good, oh my God, I'm so satisfied. That feeling, it makes my heart like flutter. Ooh, I love food. How does it feel when you're experiencing pleasure and you're happy again and you're satisfied? Best ways to find out is when you're actually satisfied, making a note of it. So again, this is blank page. Sometimes I just do the who because I'm like, my energy is being sucked. Something's not right. And then when you have that list of few people on your page, and it should be a very few, if you're lucky enough to have a lot, that is lucky. But once you see those names on the page, make a commitment to reach out to them as much as possible. If you give, you can receive. So give what you want. I call them and check in because I want to be checked in. Whatever you need from people, give to them and give to the list of people because these are people who deserve it from you and it'll come back. Same with any of these other activities that you come up with that you love in your life. Back to pleasure. I've been speaking about it. Okay, we got our blank page activity. We know the different categories. Okay, are we ready to jump back in to pleasure? Before care, I mentioned it, your village. It takes a village to help. One person can't be your everything. I've been married, I've been divorced, I've been in happy situations, I've been in sad ones. And what I found is the more I just accept the people for who they are instead of trying to change them, the happier I am, which means that I need more than one person around me being themselves to fulfill different things that I need in my life from people. Oftentimes, we expect one person to be everything for us, and that is a lot. That's a heavy lift. And oftentimes, that's ourselves, and it's exhausting. So, find a tribe, find a village, blank page it. Who? It could be someone you haven't even met yet, but you want to engage with on social media a little bit more. It could be someone you don't know who's an expert. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between a therapist and a coach, because we do different things, okay? And this is just in case I found it's helpful to talk to someone who doesn't know me, who doesn't get affected by what I share. Sometimes when people care about you, they want to listen, non-judgmental, but then they just get so emotionally charged because they care so much about you. So a therapist is there to help you work through the emotions, the thoughts, work through the traumas, work through the pain, heal, right? A coach, our mission is to help you achieve a goal. So let's talk about sex and relationship, right? I help people who just want to work on feeling pleasure when they're touched by someone else. That could be working on giving permission, working on consent, working on thinking about who they like to be touched by, and physically, maybe even allowing me to just touch their hand and practice baby steps. That's their goal. I work with people who are like, I want a better dating result on these profiles, on these apps. They out here, right? It's that time. And we go over the profile. We're like, okay, well, this is what this is telling me. You may not have thought it was giving off this impression, but it is. What's cool about this work is I, as a coach, help people practice the skills for dating and relationship. I do have boundaries and barriers. There's lots of rules that I don't do. There's no kissing on lips. There's no genital touching, but there is a potential to hug or practice other things that require you to feel. Imagine going on a first date and wanting to practice. And you get to. That's what I do. Some people just want to practice chit-chatting on a first date, and then I can get feedback like, oh, when you say this, this is how it comes across. It's so fun. I love it. I say that because you can add a coach, you can add a therapist. In fact, I highly recommend you add these types of people into your village, as well as the people who you know. Solitude. This is before care. So we're going to talk about being alone. There's two sides. You'll notice I like my two sides and my spectrums and my activities. One side is fear-based, scary, sad, and that's loneliness. It's the void, the want of not being alone, right? And the other side is solitude. That's, thank God, everybody's away from me. I'm alone. I can enjoy this time. This is me time. Ooh, what do I want to do? I could do anything time. That's solitude. It's just a flip of the switch. Sometimes you need that perspective of not having time alone in order to enjoy and be grateful for time alone. Whatever it needs to be, maybe your alone time is blank paging. Sometimes it's scary to be alone because all the thoughts and experiences start coming back in our mind. But when we start talking about during pleasure, we're going to get into some practices that you can do to help that be less anxious and just be. So solitude, I find if you have something to do when you're alone, listen to music can be one of the what's in the blank page, right? Then it's easier to enjoy yourself. And sometimes it's just sleep. Ugh, I love sleeping. I find pleasure in the smallest things, and I hope you learn you can too. Mapping. Okay, so before we're ready to get in the zone, auto zone, just kidding. Get in the zone to receive pleasure and feel that touch again, that feels satisfying and happy. Let's map. So there are two different types of things that you can map, triggers and pleasure. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So what is mapping? Mapping is noticing what happens to you when something happens. So trigger mapping. Usually this is something that causes anxiety, makes you sad, makes you angry, makes you all of those not so good feelings. Notice what happens when you're getting activated like that. Ooh, my chest starts to get warm. Ooh, my eyes starts to twitch. Something just don't feel right. You know, the energy's not right. The hairs on my skin start to stand. It could be, I freeze. I don't know what to do. The responses are for fight. Like I'm gonna get defensive. I'm gonna protect myself. I'm just gonna get rid of this negative stuff that's coming my way. Flight, I need to get out of here. This is not a safe place. I need to leave. I gotta go. Fight, flight, freeze. I don't know what to do. Ugh, I wish I could move. And fawn. Fawn is one that people don't talk about. Fawn is just saying what that person wants to hear so you can get them away. Those are the 4 responses that we have when we're triggered. And it's important for you to notice them, because what you can learn how to do is something I practice learning how to do better every day, is catching it before it gets there. So it's like, okay, you put water on the stove to boil, it's not boiling yet, but it's gonna start. And then it's boiling out of the pot, right? You wanna try to catch it as soon as possible. And so that's the point of trigger mapping. Because the sooner you start feeling that, you can, before it happens, escape and prevent the trigger from taking over. It's powerful stuff. This is something I work on with a lot of my clients. Pleasure. Now that we're done with that stuff, right? How does it feel when you feel good? I smile more, I laugh more, I feel warmth in a different way, I breathe heavier. You know, what is your body doing when you feel good, happy, when you feel satisfied? It's those same practices. And this time you want it to escalate. You want to crank that baby back all the way up to 100 and whatever. So the more you start noticing how that feels in your body and what makes that feeling come, the more you can activate that and turn it up. So then you'll start playing with turning triggers down and pleasure all the way up. All right. I'm gonna just give some breathing room right now to see if there's any questions or chats or anything before I keep it rolling.
So far, Erde, there is nothing in the chat, but just a reminder for folks, please feel free to put your questions in the chat if you have any.
All right, thank you.
I have a question.
Okay.
So like before, I work with sexual assault victims or survivors. And I mean, our community doesn't have like the funds to go to a coach. How do we as advocates start that before process with them so they can feel comfortable anywhere?
Ooh. Bring me in. Tap me in, coach. I want to say, like, I do a lot of, so how I look at my work is people who can't afford it will pay and pay extra for those who can't afford it. So I build into my prices enough to be able to subsidize me being able to do pro bono work as well. And so I can coach coaches. I can help you all walk through, because there is some training to it on how to do it. But the before care, if you're a person who is a voluntold coach, really, you just want to get down to, again, 1 or 2 actual tangible goals that they want to achieve within feeling more comfortable, and then start working on that. Use the blank page activity that I just started with you, and be ready for when breakdowns happen. It's hard to do double duty, but if you want to call in a coach or something like that, I'm happy to be there with you. But you can do this for them and walk them through some of these easy, simple activities. And that's part of the reason why I'm sharing these very simple activities, because then they could take it with them. Okay, brainstorm and come back and say, okay, I like this. So then what you do is you build on it. Okay, we see something you like. This week, try to do it. Come back to me next time. Maybe if you have a Facebook group that you have where people can share pleasure, give ideas and excitements, encourage videos, share yourself on your social media. I love doing this week. We're going to have a pleasure week, guys. I want everybody to post something they love, what made them smile. And then you just keep having people share ideas. And the point is really hone in on the good. The bad is always going to be there. And when it comes up, normalize it. It's going to come up. Take that moment, take that breath, let it come up. We're going to pause. And then when they come back next time, pick it up from there. That's what coaching really is. Anyone can do it. And it's just, you got to have your focus, and the focus for me, like I said, is pleasure. And once you switch the focus to that, not what happened, are you okay, to let's be okay. What did you do today? That switch in itself just gets people like, wow, I haven't talked about this in a while. Well, now that you say it, I did something embarrassing and it made me laugh because I was so embarrassed, but it made me laugh. You know, that's the tips that I say. And then I'm also working on a lot of grant writing, where maybe I can get funded on a larger scale to be able to do more trainings for advocates like yourself. And then even where we can have a volunteer person come in and where you can actually practice the activities. I say this, they say this, those types of things. So I'm a good resource for you.
Thank you.
And I come from a background of nonprofit, so I understand broke. And I come from poverty, so I get it. I see another hand raised. Oh, I'm sorry, you're muted. Oh, the Zoom.
There we go.
catchphrase.
Okay, there we go. Technology is great till it's not. Thank you for the work that you do, first of all. My question to you is, how do you suggest we begin that conversation to incorporate those people in our small circle to say, hey, just so you know, I'm giving you pre-warning, or I'm letting you know in advance that this is what goes on with me sometimes. This is what I'm trying to heal from. When you see this, I need you to do this. When this happens, this is what I need. This is what I don't need. Because I know having that advanced warning is better for those that we do invite into our circle, because it is a sign of trust to even begin to have that conversation. But I think for me as a survivor, it's been important that the people that I bring closest to me have the most of me.
100%. I heard questions and answers to the questions all in your statement.
Okay.
So add to what you said, right? And the way I look at it, especially with dating, because dating is just seeing if you want to add someone to your life, right? Doesn't have to always be romantic. It could be a friendship. These are the questions to talk about. These are the things to do. Hi, by the way, it's exactly what you said. There's some things I need to let you know. But there's a time when to bring it up, right? So you got to gauge whether or not, and this is for new people. When I talk about blank pages, make sure you have people who already exist that you feel that way about. And if you don't, okay, this is where this part comes in. You got to feel them out first, right? I'm not going to give my trust away. They may not even need the warning right away yet because they haven't advanced to that part of you yet. So maybe you're just getting to know them. And so here's some questions that I recommend you do to prep for that. And that's, what's most important to me in a person? If you ask that question and you write a list of answers, when you're on this first date, meeting someone new, getting to know someone, you start asking questions around that to see if they're interested in the same things. They don't have to know this is important to me. It's just, it is. So start fishing to see, okay, are these the things that this person likes to do? Do they not like to do this? Are they interested in these things? And so it could be your basket, your blank page that you just talked about, the what's. And so, for example, someone brought up to me, they love sports. Okay, I'm not the best at sports, so bear with me, but they love sports. So I said, go to a sports bar and root for your team. And if it's important to you that they are the same fan that you are, bring it up. Go to the person wearing the opposite jersey and say, really? Start that conversation, or only go up to people who are wearing your team jersey because that's important to you. So what you want to identify are those qualities that are the most important for you, that the people you do trust have. And when you meet people, just start bringing up questions and asking them around, like, what kind of things do you like? I know people hate small talk, but small talk with a purpose to find out whether or not they meet your criteria could be fun, because now you actually have questions you want to ask. Hey, do you have kids? How old are the kids? That could be something important to you. If you want to get deep fast, because that's who you are, that's who I am. I'm kind of like, I'm going to just be vulnerable right away. And if I scare you, you weren't meant to be in my circle. If you lean in, let's talk, and it doesn't have to be crazy, but I say I love talking about sexual pleasure, and that to people is like too much. So you kind of have to just gauge, and that's something you can practice too. Figuring out whether or not someone is someone you want to even bring up those traumas to yet. Because sometimes a pre-warning is too early and they didn't deserve to know that part of you. And they don't have to, they don't get to. So make it more of something they earn, getting to know who you are. Reflection. So, and before care, we're going to just continue to reflect on all of the things I mentioned. Did that answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we're hopping over to during, okay? Because I gave you lots to reflect on, hopefully. But the most important thing to remember for the before is, how are you thinking? And think in the what brings me pleasure, what makes me happy, versus the other thoughts that are always in your head. Okay, so now guess what? We found someone we can trust. It's ourselves and maybe someone else if we want to. And we're ready to enjoy this moment. Sometimes you ask for things like, I want ice cream. I wanted to say a sexual thing, but I'm gonna use ice cream, right? Sometimes you ask for something you like, which is hard to do. And then you get it, but you're never satisfied. And that could be because you're not actually in it and allowing yourself to receive because of all the mental blocks. So embodiment, what that means is getting back into your body, activating yourself so that you can be as present as possible during those wonderful times. It starts like this. I want everybody to get in their chair. It's going to remind you a little bit of meditation. When you're in your chair, get as comfortable as you can, or wherever you're sitting or standing, whatever, get comfortable. It starts with a deep breath. So I want you to breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. It starts with a breath. Keep breathing. And notice, maybe you want to close your eyes, maybe you want to keep it open, but notice, do you rock a little bit when you're breathing? If so, notice how your butt hits the chair or how your feet are planted on the ground. Notice your body. Wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, feel your body. Okay, maybe when you take a deep breath in and out, you notice your clothes rub against your skin. Embodiment helps you notice that you are a person who's alive. That you're not just a spirit that you hide from people trapped inside, that this is a part of who you are, that you can feel. I love doing this. Make your fingertips touch each other. Because that's you feeling yourself. You're alive. So when you're eating that ice cream that you waited so long to eat, notice how it tastes. Breathe. Be there. Enjoy it. Give yourself permission to enjoy that moment. Embodiment is hard because a lot of us have built very strong defense mechanisms to detach ourselves from our bodies because of all the stuff that's happened to our bodies. I mentioned mine. But your body's a wonderful place when you remember that it's only for you and that you get to choose who gets to have it. Now you can choose. It's going to take time and practice, but we're going to start getting comfortable with that. Fantasy. So because of time, I had a breakdown of all the different fantasies, but I'm just going to keep it high level because sometimes when you're in it, your mind is in a crazy place and it's not in a nice, pleasurable, happy place. So you got to trigger yourself about the things you like again and remind yourself what that is. And that's what fantasy can do to you. There's levels to fantasy, okay? So feeling, there's something called core desires. These are, how do you want to feel when you're experiencing pleasure, especially sexual pleasure, because that's what we're here to talk about, right? How do you want to feel? Adored, powerful, gorgeous, wanted, accepted? How do you want to feel when you imagine being satisfied and happy? Ignition. This is something called hottest story. Some people call it the hottest sexual story. And these are your desires. So this is, when you're alone, you can practice this one. And the idea is to think of things that make you feel good and feel sexually excited and happy about it and positive. So there's a couple different stories you can think of. So one could be spiritual in nature. Some people just feel so good in nature. Another one is, or in spiritual, some people connect with the universe and connect with God and they just feel loved and seen. Passionate words. Maybe you can think about words that you love to hear and just thinking about people saying that to you. And maybe there's a certain type of person that you want saying that to you. Passionate touch. There are certain touches that you want to feel that you can't feel. And thinking about that. Now, I'm going to use a naughty word here. Porn. I say naughty, it's not meant to be, but it could be used as a tool to help. Think about sexual things you like. In ignition in the story, it's important to realize that these aren't things that you actually may want to happen to you. These are things that when you see it, it makes you feel horny, might I say. Feel good, want to receive that. want to receive pleasure. So again, the difference is the way you can constructively use porn is there's so many different examples on there on how people have sex and sometimes those examples are helpful to see. And sometimes you might just be scrolling and then you see something. And of course, you're going to see some things that trigger you and maybe make you feel not so comfortable and maybe don't feel good. But again, my challenge to you is to focus on the things that make you feel good. So pass up those things. Leave what you don't want and take what you do. So keep scrolling until you see something that makes you feel something. Remember that pleasure mapping? Whoa. And keep watching things like that. And sometimes that can make you feel things good in your body, even regardless of what you're watching. There's a lot of misunderstanding around that one. That's why I had to reiterate that it's not things that maybe you want or to happen in real life, but it's just something that when you see it, it turns you on. Last thing in fantasy is the experience. So when you're in this experience, there's 3 different ways you can experience sexuality in a positive way. One of them is role play. Some people find it easier to say, I'm going to be this confident, sexy person. And that's role playing because maybe I'm not that way all the time. It could be a character. It could be a lot of different things. Another one is trance. Some people, in order to feel all of its glory, you kind of space out a little bit and close your eyes and experience all of the feelings, right? And so I'll get to the misunderstanding behind this, but just know that that's a different way that someone can experience it. You could feel like they're disconnected from you because they're not opening their eyes, but there are some pleasurable ways of experiencing escaping in yourself in a nice spot versus the opposite, which a lot of us have experienced, which is escaping in ourselves to not feel. This time we're escaping in ourselves to feel more. It's different and it requires practice. And the last one is partner engagement. Some people during it need to be connected, eye contact, want to feel engaged. And that's how they want to experience the most out of it. You could have all of these things with yourself, which is what I promote first, learning what you like, and then you can choose whether or not you want to share your body in this experience with someone else. But note, when you share your body with someone else, they might experience it different. So if you love eye contact, but they're trancing, you can feel a disconnect, but just tap into the fact that everyone's trying to feel great. I'm ending this section with a quote that my mom told me when she first started talking about sex, and this is how I became who I am. She said, now I know you're already having sex and you're smart enough to not want to get pregnant yet and to protect yourself from any diseases out there. But one thing you need to remember, the most important thing is that when you have sex, it should feel so good that you feel it in your toes. It wasn't until later in life that I realized not everybody's mom told them that. And that might give you a little bit of introduction to why I am how I am. Thank you, Mom. But seriously, you can feel good like that. It's the pre-work and the during work that'll help you get there. 6 senses. When we're in there, 6. Yeah, I added one at the end. You want to make sure you can think about, am I tapping into all of my senses? So what do I like to see? And sometimes if it's not something physically there, you can close your eyes and fantasize and see things in your mind, right? How do I like to be touched? Ooh, lean into what you like, what feels good that you want. Again, these are all things you want and that you like. That's the reminder. Smell. I love anything like a citrus mixed with vanilla. So a candle, maybe you want a candle, maybe sage. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the natural scent. Taste. Skin has a taste, salty sometimes. But maybe you want to bring in food. Maybe you want to bring in something that tastes good, a water or a drink or something like that. Sounds, maybe you want rainfall playing in the background or some baby making music or whatever your choice is. There's lots of sounds that you can have. Sometimes it's just the breath. People forget that breathing is such a satisfying sound, and breathing welcomes in joy and pleasure. And then the last one is intuition. Follow your gut. Are you all there? This is like when if you can think of an outer body experience, you want to feel it so good that it transcends. Now, this is hard to explain, but when all of your senses are together, you can activate truly soaking it in. Back to the toolbox. I know it seems like I'm off, out of place, but I'm not. We're coming right on time here. So that was things that you can do during. The last one on the list is self-discovery. We call it conscious self-discovery. Masturbation is triggering, but it's also more than. When you think of masturbation, it is a form of self-love and self-pleasure. It can be, it should be, and we're thinking of it in the context of it being. It tends to only be genital play. Self-discovery is realizing you like to squeeze your thighs. It's that affirmations to yourself. You love hearing this from yourself. It's the discovering touches that aren't genital touches and figuring out what feels good. Maybe it's lightly caressing. Maybe it's squeezing. It's discovering certain parts of your body might really feel great. The neck. Ooh. Being gentle and giving yourself time to explore what feels good and giving yourself permission, and remind yourself you gave yourself permission to touch you in this wonderful way is a beautiful experience. And it helps you start to learn what you like. Sometimes when you're in the act and someone else is there, or just in general, because you don't like a lot of it because of it happening to you without your permission in the worst ways, you're just like, ugh, I don't like anything about it. But with self-discovery, you can start baby stepping and figuring out that you do like certain feelings and touches, and go through all the senses and figure out in the self-discovery, treat yourself, make love with yourself, love yourself, date yourself. A lot of all of my work, like I said, is you-centered. You matter. You are a person deserving of pleasure, and you're gonna get it. You just maybe don't know what that feels like anymore. And so now all of these tools are gonna help you get there. So after, we have a few things here. And you can prepare for the after with a care package to yourself. Okay, I know going into a sexual experience may not 100% be pleasurable, but I'm working on it. And now it is 100% pleasurable, however you want to say that. But either way, it was an experience that combines with other experiences that I might need to care for myself a little bit after. Check in with yourself. See how you're doing. Take out that blank page and eat your favorite food, or sit underneath an awning outside, whatever. Go over a friend's house and talk about that experience. Talk to yourself as the friend you want about that experience. And I said I would mention this, but a part of the embodiment and self-discovery is really like thinking about how it's hitting you. And the goal of this is to not fix it. So problems, negativity, all of this stuff could be coming up in your life. It's always there. Like I said, weeds grow, but just look at it. There's this show, X-Men, Marvel, not everybody watches it, but there was a scene where there's a really fast person and everything around them slowed down and was floating in space, and they were just kind of walking through slowly, but you know they were going really fast. That's what I want you to do with your thoughts and your feelings after. And give yourself grace. It's okay. Don't fix it. It just is what it is. And you start connecting more with who you are and accepting yourself. And when you start accepting yourself and who you want to be and who you can be, it becomes easier to accept other people, and it becomes easier to trust. It becomes easier to decide who you want to trust. So that resilience basket comes back to us. The blank page. Your care package is found somewhere in here. And if you don't have that same paper, do it again, right there from scratch after. Who makes me feel good right now? Who would I want to talk to? Who do I have to listen to? Who would listen to me? What do I want to do right now? Do I want to yell? Do I want to sleep? Do I want to cry? What do I want to do? Do I want to crochet? Where do I want to go right now that'll make me feel the best? As I think about what just happened, when should I do this? Am I ready to do it now? Do I need to wait? Can I break it up? How soon after do I want to start thinking about this thing or eating my favorite food? And how do I want to really take care of myself and continue adding more pleasure next time? So the last thing, let's see if I can go back. The last things are a couple extra bonus things. Those are all of my kind of tools in a nutshell to you all that I wanted to practice with you. And so I'm going to leave off with some of my events that I love. Like I said, here's the thing. I started going to karaoke for fun. Then I was hired to work at a bar, my favorite bar. So I'm like, you can get paid to do this? Because then I can sing and do it. And then now people love it so much that they asked me to, I started my own karaoke business. And so there is a place in town that has us every Tuesday. I do events and parties, and I just share my karaoke with other people now. It's so cool to be able to not only find your pleasure, but now get paid to do what you love, to feel how you love to feel. Why I love karaoke is because it lets me scream in a controlled way and let all of that negative energy out, which only leaves more space inside for me to feel great. I also love when people get up there for the first time very nervous, and then they conquer their fear and they feel so good. And then lastly, people in the crowd are also on stage. So there's this energy of support that you don't get from other places. So that's all to say. If you've never tried karaoke, or if you're willing to or want to try karaoke, I have some Tuesdays in town and I can do parties. And then burlesque, that interesting art of striptease that's protected and safe, which are so important to me. I have a couple performances, which I'm really excited about and grateful for. And I would say that that is some of the energy that you need, is being grateful. That maximizes pleasure. Instead of thinking of what didn't go right, what you didn't get, all the bad things, think about what did you have? And I know it's cliche, but seriously, like, I am so grateful for being able to talk to you all today, for being able to just share about pleasure. I don't probably feel my excitement, but I love it, because why not? We literally are built with organs designed just for sexual pleasure, and they're designed for us, our bodies. So those are some events. And then thank you so much. I did have, this is my information. I did have a bonus activity in case people didn't have questions to ask, but the next part, and I'll come back to my information, is just questions. So leave my information there. I forgot to put my website up there, but it's just neredebrands.com. And, you know, I do it all, including websites. So here and there, I try to update it as much as possible. I'm working on getting a team to help me. I just started serving people and then building my company as I go. So any and all feedback, let me know. And thank you. So again, I'm going to pause and ask, are there any questions out there? Or comments? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to do one more activity with you or walk you through another activity, and then I'll put my information back on. Relaxing into receiving. It's such a simple practice that's so difficult. It's difficult receiving positive feedback sometimes without feeling like you have to say something back or without feeling like uncomfortable or without whatever. So this is a simple practice that you can do with anyone you're working with or anyone in your life. And it's based on compliments is the easiest way to do this. So relax into receiving compliments. So you have at least 2 people, or you can do it in a circle and do the next person. Person 1 has to give a genuine compliment about the person that they're talking to. It could be something physical. It could be something about their personality. It could be something you notice, but a genuine compliment, looking into their eyes. If you're virtual, you can break out in the breakout rooms. I just didn't prepare for this one. It's just a bonus one to walk you through right now. And then person 2 has one job. You ever see those memes? You only have one job, because I guarantee you this is harder than you think. It's to simply say, thank you. We're working on receiving positivity without feeling like you owe anything extra. And when you say thank you, I want you to internalize and hear the compliment that was given to you and understand that whether or not you feel that about yourself, someone else right in front of you feels that about you. It's positive, it's wonderful, and it's real because that person genuinely found something to say about you. I love this activity. And hopefully you love all of the activities that we've gone through today. I kind of want to just have this snapshot of all of the practices in the toolbox again, just in case you wanted it. I'm happy to share some of these activities. If you'd like that, feel free to just email me. And here's my contact information. But with that, that's what I had prepared for everyone. I love in person the most, but because, you know, I'm just, ooh, I want to see you go, ooh, I want to see you go, ooh, I want to see, you know, but talking to a screen, I tried to give as much of myself as I can. But I really thoroughly appreciate you all having me here.
Thank you so much. There's just a lot of people in the chat that are thanking you for the presentation. If you got nothing else from what we learned today, you learned that you deserve pleasure. And I think that is a phenomenal statement of just you deserve it. Maybe none of these things apply to you or some of these things apply to you, but if you got nothing else, you got that as a person, you deserve pleasure. And I think what was really great about it is that it wasn't just about sexual pleasure, even though we work in this field, but it was just pleasure in general. And I think working in this field, pleasure goes out the window, right? Like it's so heavy. We do all of this heavy work. And so just if you got nothing else, I want to put it on a bumper sticker, a t-shirt or something of just, you deserve pleasure. And I think that is so great. Thank you so much. Like I said, people always love this presentation. we'll just put you on the calendar for next year. Maybe we'll get back to in person and maybe we won't, but we'll just continue to be in contact with you. Thank you so much.
I love this group. I love this environment.
Yes.
I personally feel like you deserve it more because
Yes.
of the depths of the bad side.
Absolutely.
You deserve the depths of the positive side too. So, and as the workers, thank you for doing this work.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my goodness, like you said, it's so heavy. It's the
Yes.
heaviest. So do these activities for yourself.
Yes. Yes. All right, y'all. Y'all be in touch next week. We have another phenomenal event coming up. She was on. I'm not sure if she is gone, but is it next week, Angie? Okay. Next week we will be talking about sexual assault survivorhood and survivorship in the older community, older generations, and how Ms. Fleming has been doing amazing work across the scope for survivors in that generation. And so we are looking forward to her giving us some interviews, some tools on how we can better service survivors in that community. So y'all come back and sit with us again next week. See y'all. Y'all have a good day. Y'all have a good day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hey, Cynthia.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Tired. I'm here. How you doing,
All right.
Nestle?
I'm doing okay.